In this episode, we talk about Jose Fernandez's pitching mechanics
and how to load the back leg.
Stephen Godani here at the @TopVelocity hashtag Pitch Tip Show, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. We're actually live on Periscope right now, so you can go to Twitter, my Twitter @TopVelocity, and you can check out the Periscope of us kind of up in our man cave here in the basically it's Guerrilla Baseball Academy, which is my baseball academy. But this is Top Velocity. This is Top Velocity show. So if you want to get on the show, you just go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, ask your question. Baseball tips, pitching tips at Top Velocity, we answer on the show. Snapchat's still really big. We got a lot of good stuff on our story. So check that out. If you haven't got it on Snapchat, add us to Snapchat, Top Velocity. And we're going to get started today. What's the question for today? Dev asks, can you all break down Jose Fernandez's pitching mechanics? All right, Jose Fernandez, I've broken him down many times over the years. I've always liked him. He's a very dynamic pitcher, but he has issues. I really believe, everybody now at this point, it's like, why did he have Tommy John surgery? There's a mechanical issues, I believe, in his delivery. I don't like how he throws his slider at the time. And I didn't like the training approach he did that offseason before he tore his Tommy John or his UCL. He was a big cycler. He did this a lot of competition, a lot of long distance cycling, which we know is very aerobic, but there's a lot of strength development in cycling because a lot of resistance movements, but it's still more aerobic. So did that hurt him? Who knows? He could have come in less force coming out of the ground, and he was throwing really hard. He threw a lot of long games that year, and that could have done it, or that could have just come from him throwing too many pitches and over time. I can't say it's a guarantee that cycling, that was the problem. I don't think that helped. Let's look at his delivery. I'm going to break it down here. He does use a really good lower half, but it gets rotational, and I think it might be getting more rotational. If you see when he lifts his leg, he extends the leg and sits into the back leg, kind of that old school approach of extending the leg, and then he swings the leg out really big, and it's obviously very aggressive because the back leg starts to really rotate hard, but he puts a lot of force through it. He gets a lot of good back leg internal rotation. But I think that big swooping front leg, the trunk, when the trunk comes around, even though he does separate, when the trunk comes around, it gets very rotational. The elbow gets in front of the face. The arm gets fully extended at pitch release, which is harder on the UCL. And then to make matters worse, then when he hooks that slider at an extended rotational release, overloads the flexor mass, and then eventually, as the flexor mass fries, it snaps the wrist. I did get to watch the game when he tore his UCL. I watched it pitch by pitch, and it was interesting because he was 96, 97 on his fastballs all the way up to the inning before he tore his UCL. He went into that inning, and all of a sudden his fastball was 91, 92, and he started throwing a lot of sliders. I think because his fastball dropped and he wasn't obviously wasn't being as effective, so he brings the slider. You could see something was going wrong. Something was breaking down. So he had pitched a lot of pitches before that outing, so I think something was wrong and he was trying to pitch through it. And those mechanical problems being very rotational, full arm extension and pitch release on top of a bad hooking slider, I think it was an accident waiting to happen. I hope he's changed that. I don't know if he has. It looks like he's still rotational. Looks like he might even be getting more rotational. I am a little concerned, but that's kind of my opinion on Jose Fernandez. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just think it's a good testament to even a very high-level athlete, which, just seeing how he would go cycling for 30 miles a day and still be able to come back and throw as hard as he did, just as a good example of just what an athlete he is, to be able to not tear down all of his fast twitch and be less explosive. But like Brent's saying, when he has that really rotational lower half in the drive leg, it's causing him to get really rotational up top. And I just think that's a big thing to look at for just everybody who was seeing that there's different drive leg styles, like with the rotational, with triple extension, with knee slammer, and stuff like that, and how when you're using linear power to create your energy rather than rotational power, how it's much healthier on the arm. And you're really seeing that with Jose Fernandez, with how rotational his back leg is, and then his arm getting rotational and getting out into extension and hurting his arm. So I think that's a big thing for him too.
Definitely. Next question.
Josh asks, I'm still struggling very much in trying to move early and still bend the back leg.
So just really a question that goes at loading the back leg. Now understand, because I get this a lot, and it's the initial move, so it gets to be very important, is the hips coming out of your leg lift, the hips have to move forward and down at the same rate. It's not drop and drive or just fall, stand tall and fall. Hips forward and down at the same rate. Typically, high velocity guys do a better job of moving forward, getting the linear movements, but at the same time too they load. And it's very hard because during the movement of your hips going forward, you could very easily transfer your energy. And once you shift your weight too early, yeah, you're never going to be able to load into that back leg. So that's probably what's happening. You're pushing your hips out, you're moving forward, but you're throwing your shoulder ahead with it, and then your energy's transferring early, so all the weight's coming off your back leg, which the only way you're going to load and flex and sit into your glutes, you know, your quads and your back leg is if you have weight back there, if you're putting your weight back there. I mean, I don't want you to over exaggerate it back there, but there has to be a good majority of your weight on the back leg so you can feel like you're actually loading into your back hip while you're moving forward. So that's where most guys fail. You come into our 3X Velocity camps, typically you have poor ankle mobility, hip mobility, leg strength, leg power, and because of that, you transfer your energy early. You just let everything go early and dump early. So of course, when you're moving your hips forward, you're like, I don't feel like I'm loading well on my back leg, because you're not, because everything's going already. Everything's just transferring off your back leg. And ultimately, to put force on the ground, you have to have weight to put force in the ground, because that's what it is. Force in the ground is pushing weight into the ground, and that weight comes back up, or that force comes back up. So if you're putting your weight over here and you want your weight back here, that's the problem. So that's typically what I believe you're falling into. Anything you want to add to that?
I mean, yeah, I think that goes along great with a lot of the stuff that we're showing on Snapchat right now of us showing the drills, and we're getting guys sending feedback of them like trying the drills and saying that it's not connecting, and that's like, it's huge when you're not here, how easy it is to slip out of loading into the back leg and really driving out of the back leg. Because most guys who come through the camp, when you put them in the drills, they start wanting, like Brent's saying, to dump everything forward, kick with the front leg, and not really get into the ground and use the ground to drive out of the back leg. So I mean, that's why we put weights on the guy's front leg to try to weight them down, and we're showing all that in the Snapchat of putting weights on their front leg, and then even in the sled drill, guys like David's doing an awesome job in the most recent Snapchat story of him loading into his back leg and exploding out of his back leg. So all of those things are stuff that you would need to work on to learn how to, stay loaded on the back leg and drive out of the back leg rather than letting everything dump forward and kick out.
Guys, I will say this so we can go back in time and remember this video, but when they put a force plate on a Major League mound right next to that rubber, and we know how much force is going in that ground, and they put it on the front leg, of course the front leg's going to be always more than the back leg, but when the force goes into that rubber, and you see those readings coming through Major League Baseball, and then one day you get to do the same thing and you put the force in the ground and you see those readings coming through high school baseball, it's going to be so obvious that that's a big factor in how these guys throw as hard as they do. You're going to see more force pushing into that rubber. Why do you think there's a rubber there, guys? It gives them leverage. That's why it was more than likely put there. So you have more leverage to come off the mound with more force.
Especially for smaller guys too, right?
Right. Smaller guys are, well, I mean, small. It's all based on body weight. You might find a smaller guy is putting less force in the ground than a bigger guy, obviously. But
for his size.
But for his size, it's gonna all be relative to body weight, because they're gonna have a hard time correlating it to ball velocity because you have such different size of guys. But when it correlates to body weight, you're gonna see that high velocity pitchers are putting more force in the ground. That's not the only thing they're doing. You're gonna have some guys that don't put as much force in the ground and throw maybe as hard or harder because they're overcompensating, or they're using all the other important things in the chain, like the force multipliers and the eccentric loads and all the torques that we put in our arms, in our body. So, but still, once you understand how they're using how they're putting weight on that back leg, in Major League Baseball, when they give those measurements, it's going to be so obvious. So I mean, I'm going to look back to this video and I'm going to say, see, you know, here it was. Like I knew it was there. We all knew it was there. We didn't have the measurements, and a lot of people are ignoring it. But I just want those right now who want to like get an edge before all that information is just mainstream and more conventional. Is learn it, guys. Learn to load the legs. Learn to put more force in the ground. And then it's going to put more force in the front leg, and watch what's going to happen. More energy is going to come up. You're going to be able to not work as hard with your upper body, so it's going to reduce the stress in your upper body, but you'll still be able to throw as hard or harder. Cool. If you have a question, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Like I said, we're on Periscope. Maybe we got some questions on Periscope. And this episode, obviously, if you're watching it, you probably found it on Twitter or YouTube. So if you have a question, ask us a question. Pitching tips, baseball tips. I'll answer on the show. Check out the 2x3x camps. We'll see you on the next episode.